Meeting recorded this evening. Welcome, everybody. Very nice. Take your Plotsky. Rules review and legislative modernization. Maybe start with taking roll.
Sure, Ms. Chairwoman. Ms. Plotsky?
Present.
Willingham is on her way. Kuhn?
Here.
Larillier? Here. Lakakis?
Yes.
Mayo?
Here.
Ward is excused. Grimm?
Here.
And Moriello?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Can we talk about approval of previous minutes?
Let's.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Go on to item number 2. We have legislator Bureau here with us. This is the item for establishing Albany County remote work policy for county employees.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. A lot of you were already on the law committee, seems like. But this is going to establish the Remote Work Act for Albany County and basically give employees around 2 days to work from home for jobs that can be done remotely. Something that is already technically done by Albany County, and this would make it an act of the legislature, pretty much.
Any questions? Okay.
Yeah, my big question, number one, is what is the plan for the administration to ensure that productivity doesn't drop as some people are going to be good workers and some aren't. So how do they manage the productivity of people who are working remotely?
Yes, supervisors are still going to ensure that people are working, doing what they're supposed to be doing, and if productivity drops, they can actually withdraw their remote work
Permission?
Yeah, permission. Yeah.
Do they, can a department say no remote work, it just won't work? And do they have that ability?
They have to have something in place that gives remote work to employees for jobs that can be done remotely. So if there is a reason why a department will say that they can allow it for this particular person and stuff like that, then they have the ability to do so.
Like the highway department is the first thing I think of. You can't really do that remotely.
Say that again?
The highway department where you're working on the roads, that kind of thing.
Oh, so the highway department, if they have employees that can work remotely, then those people can be allowed to work remotely.
Okay.
But if there's a job that cannot be done remotely, they don't have to have it that this person can work remotely.
Okay, well, I think I'm okay with this as long as the productivity is monitored, because that's
Yes.
money out the window as far as taxpayers are concerned.
Yes.
Thanks.
So it's going to be monitored by supervisors.
All right, thanks, Carl.
And Mr. Moriello was next.
Okay. Did you receive any input from our Human Resource Department?
This was pretty much done in collaboration with the county exec and the human resources department.
Okay,
Yes.
so you did work with the county executive's office?
Yes.
On this, okay. So I have a few questions here. One of the things, I'm reading through this and I'm thinking about, this is, can be a little burdensome, I think, at times. And I know last month when we were discussing the legislative action for codifying existing practices, and I know Mr. Kuhn had some issues with it being maybe too burdensome. Would this be a little bit too burdensome? There's an awful lot in here. There's the many different rules and regulations that people have to adhere to. I don't know. I worry about it in that it's just too much here that they have to comply with. There's a daily remote work log. Work log instructions are included with a document. It seems like that's just unnecessary because it's just additional paper that you're going to need.
Frank, can I just ask, what section are you on?
6. And here, I'm in section 6.
Oh.
Do you disagree? Oh,
Go ahead, please.
sorry. Do you disagree that workers should have to fill out a daily work log?
Well,
Because that contradicts.
It's just that it seems like there's instructions here that have to be included. Work log instructions are included with the document. Is that needed with every log? Do you need the instructions attached to it?
It's probably electronic.
No, I believe that would be done at the initial time when you set up.
Just the initial time.
Yes, and
Okay,
to be
'cause it
clear,
here-
this is a program that's already effectively in place.
All right, because here, the way I'm reading it, it's included with the document at all times. Okay. That's the way I'm looking at it.
It's probably like a form.
Section 7A. Now, let's see, what I'm looking for is, I'm trying to go back to some of my notes here. No, that wasn't it. This program is not intended to and may not be used to replace suitable childcare or childcare supervision. What's suitable?
That means you can't be watching your child while you're working. You have to have childcare for your children when you're
Okay.
working.
All right, well, that's, I just want to make sure.
It's basically meaning like this is not a replacement for your childcare.
I would hope not.
Oh, no way, no way.
This is
I
pretty
would hope not.
standard things in a telework agreement.
Now, participants must request approval and indicate all requested remote days in advance. There's no guarantee of specific approved days during the time period. So, how far in advance? I'm sorry, that's E
Supervisor?
on section 7.
Presumably that would be created by the supervisor, but before the work period starts.
So whatever the pay period.
You can't, because you cannot, as indicated, you can't make changes during the work period that you are currently in.
Okay. All right, now absences from work cannot occur adjacent to a scheduled remote day. For example, if you call in sick from work on a day you are required to report in person, you must report to work on the following scheduled remote day. So that is telling me that if my remote day is Wednesday and I'm here on Tuesday, if I call in sick on Tuesday, I cannot work remotely on Wednesday?
Yes.
Correct.
Unless you're still sick.
So you have to come in to work. Your next scheduled day that you were supposed to work.
That's to prevent misuse of days.
Right.
You
Okay.
lose the privilege
If you're sick, you're sick. I mean, if you
It's
call
to
in for a
prevent you being
vacation.
sick and then you also having a day off the next day where you don't have to come in.
Well, I wouldn't call that a day off.
Well, I wouldn't either, but this is to prevent fraud.
Yeah, I can understand that. How do we determine whether or not a person is actually doing the work at home?
As
That'd be,
Mr.
Productivity.
Efficoro indicated, it's monitored by the supervisor, as Mr. Graham asked earlier. It's something that is done repeatedly, and as it indicates, you have to be working continuously and providing that daily log that you objected to earlier, so that your employer and your supervisor know when you're working.
Okay. Because I know someone that worked for the state, and as long as they were logged in, they were considered working. So they would log in, and then they'd go and do other little.
But
There's no such program at the
All
county.
right, good.
There is no such
Good.
login.
That's what they're trying to avoid by having to work
Yes, I can
log.
understand that, yeah. Employees may elect to withdraw from the remote work program no later than the start of the pay period for the scheduled remote work. So
Notice.
if you do not want to work remotely, you have to tell someone before that work period, the pay period starts,
you have to request that you do not want to work remotely anymore.
before the pay period.
Yes,
Sorry.
before so you are approved for a certain time, basically from this time to this time. And if you decide you don't want to work remotely anymore, you have to let your supervisor know you do not want to work remotely anymore before your approved time is over.
Okay, all right. I mean, I don't like any fraud when it comes to employees taking advantage of the privilege of working remotely. I mean, I can understand that. I thought there was an awful lot in this and maybe a little bit burdensome for us to comply with.
It's actually already in effect, so we're just.
This is already in effect?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're doing this now as it is?
Yes.
We're making it a policy.
Right.
Whereas it was just a practice before, now it will be a policy after.
Okay. All right, no questions. Thank
All
you.
right. Ms. Whalen, I think,
Oh, yes, so I have a few questions. If you are working remotely at home
and you require certain computer systems or mechanical things to do your job, will you be suited up with the same system at home that mirrors the one at your desk? And if so, will that be a tremendous increase or cost to us in the county? In other words, if you have some special computer that you need to do your job and it's sitting at your desk in some building here.
Yeah, so that's why if it's something that cannot be done, the department would let the employees know that this is not something that is possible.
So how many requests have they turned down under the current policy that's pretty much mirroring this? Like how many people have asked under this temporary policy
I guess
to
that would
go
be
remote, but
agency.
then they've been denied because they have special jobs that they won't permit them to work at home?
Yeah, I believe that would be agency by agency, but I don't have a
Did we-
specific figure.
Okay. And then, you know, certainly employees that are fixing roads, water pipes, understand that they can't do their jobs from home. But what?
Older people.
I worry about like the Board of Elections, okay? Those, like, most people wouldn't think that, that at the Board of Elections, they have, to make you know, they have to show up during election, you know, they have to come and be on site
Yep.
and run the elections, and we have early voting, 8 to 10 days or whatever it is, we just went through it. They've got even during COVID, like the primaries went on and the Board of Elections employees had to come into work during COVID to do that job. And, you know, I just wanna make sure that it will be clear to like clerical workers that it's, in certain instances, their requests to work remotely will be denied because they can't do their job.
Right.
Even though if it's a clerical job at home, if you're running an election,
Mhm.
you know, it's all hands on
I
deck.
think that would be made
You've gotta be there.
clear. I mean,
They'll-
that's
they'll
up
have-
to the
they'll-
supervisors.
the agency would decide whether or not the position
Mhm.
is a position that can be done remotely or
Yeah.
not.
But you know, it's like a lot of deciding, like, I mean, how many employees do we have in this county? A lot, right? What if everyone makes this request to go remote? Then who is gonna be the tribunal making all these decisions all day long? We're gonna have to hire 4 more people to
Well,
make
so
decisions.
we have not to
What?
date had to do that, and this has been in place as a.
But I just asked him how many have been denied, how many have been approved.
Well, he doesn't
Does
happen to
even
know that offhand.
Do you know?
But I don't know that offhand.
Well, maybe we should find
But
out.
this program has been in practice for almost 4 years, it's just being codified now. So we have not had to hire any number of extra people to make all these decisions. The supervisors have been handling it just fine.
Why do we need it codified if it's already been in practice? Like
That's our
just-
job. Sorry.
Well, I
Mr.
have only been
Caucus.
here, it's been our job, but this has been 4 years overdue. That's how we do our jobs.
So let's let Ms. Nikakis speak,
Yeah.
please.
I would say from a personnel perspective, it is detailed, and we do have quite a few employees in different kinds of places. And I know you get the emails that I get, don't you, that if you're essential, you know, tomorrow it's gonna snow. If you're essential, you must show up to where you belong. So people know if they're essential or not. It's been determined already, and it has been for years. They have to go to the nursing home. They have to stay there if they're at the nursing home and a hurricane hits. You know, the probation department probably has people that are essential. Each department already knows who needs to be on deck. I guess IT probably, one of them has to be here at all times, would be my guess. So to me, it seems like it does cover a lot of things. It does seem detailed, but it's important because we have a vast, you know, array of employees. And it is something that we should have a policy for. So this, I think, ably covers it. And I would like to move it if there's no further questions.
Mr. Berto did have his hand raised, so
Yeah,
if we
no,
can kind of briefly wrap
I'm very
it up.
supportive of this, but a couple of things. If you're at your home and working, and you're at all client-facing, and you have to deal with telephone calls, do you have to be available at your home number? Does the county give you something? How does that work? So that or can you set a phone here to call forward to someone's cell phone? If you're a social services clerk and you want to work home 2 days a week, and what you do is you process paper and claims and it's computer and telephone, how would it work in an instance like that from a from a hardware, software, and communications point of view? I'm just curious.
But this doesn't get into the weeds like that. I mean, it just doesn't.
Well, shouldn't it say that if you are, during your normal workday, if you're available by telephone, you still need to be available
Yes.
by telephone?
Right. I mean, but
that was the point I was sort of making. We say that we're codifying this, so it seems to me the reason you codify this is because you create an employee benefit. Because if it's working right now without being codified, it could be changed tomorrow and done away with. So this effort is creating a benefit for the employees. So I think it's a question, once again, I think are we going to public hearing now?
No, this is a resolution.
Well, I got that question, and the other one is, and believe it or not, I only ask this question because I know people who work at home for the state, and while what they do is computer and telephone oriented, they handle a certain amount of cases. And a person I know is able to handle their 300 cases from 12 midnight till 4 in the morning. And there's no drop off in productivity. They can measure that those cases are done. Do we have a requirement with the log that somebody has to be available during business hours? We do.
Yeah, you have to be available during business hours, during your regular work hours. And to the point of the call forwarding question, yes, all calls can be forwarded.
Okay, no, these are good
And
things.
supervisors make the decision as to whether what technology is needed. Certain departments have laptops that people take home, certain departments have
Okay,
iPhones that people take
so we
home.
have the technology to bridge this.
Right.
Okay, well, no,
And-
this is why I'm very
Okay.
glad to hear this.
And also,
I think-
it- okay, yeah, go ahead.
I hope that answered your questions.
Yes,
I
it
think
did.
Ms. Lakakis was just about to make a motion. You did
Second.
a motion, and Mr. Kuhn has seconded, thank you. Okay, we'll see who's in favor.
Can I just,
Aye.
Aye.
I'm going to explain my vote if I could.
Okay.
I'm going to go along with this because I think it's nice to have an option for remote work, especially for the people that really have good work ethics. But we know right now there are people abusing this, I'm sure of it. So we really have to keep a close eye on the people at home that aren't really, they're taking advantage of the system.
Sure.
And that robs from the taxpayer, and that robs from the kind of production of services that our citizens rely on. So I approve this, but I would like to know what the county is doing in terms of making sure that everyone no productivity is slacking off. I vote aye.
So, who is voting aye?
Everybody.
Everybody?
Aye.
Great, thank you. Any nay?
Yeah. I just want to say something. I worked for the retirement system for 30 years. And I set up the first remote offices for the retirement system. When we first started, people just went out and relied on people to bring in their member statement, okay? And there was nobody there, let's say, but me, okay? And I'd wait for somebody to come in. Nobody there but me, all right? Eventually, I set up a program where we decided that we could work remote with the actual information and had laptops that we brought in, okay? And so to me, this really, I would say, is not anything new, remote work, okay? And also working with information, because the retirement system has over 1 million people, okay? And we had to be relied upon, not only to be there, but, you know, there was no one there to clock us in. There was nobody there to see when I clocked in or anything like that. And so the people that worked for me, the one thing that we had to rely upon was that they were going to be there because we knew that people were there waiting for them. So one of the points I'm trying to make is this is not new. Because of the pandemic, this has turned this around into something totally different, okay? And now it is time. But the same way when we pass laws, then there's the rules and regulations that go with it afterwards. That have to be made up in the policies after the fact by the different agencies. And I think that's one of the things that we forget. We can't put everything in the law. It's impossible. Okay, because the ones that will actually see the flaws and whatever the changes that need to be made are going to be the supervisors, are going to be the people who are actually doing the work. So I think this is an excellent, shows that we're doing something. I can say I brought the retirement system into the 21st century myself, but it's something that is good, and we're keeping up with the times. So I think it's an excellent piece.
All right, appreciate it. Item 3 is tabled. And item 4, local law G, County of Albany, amending the charter for the purpose of creating the position of deputy chairperson of the Albany County Legislature. Yeah, oh, okay, thank you. And did you want to say anything about local law G?
Well, I know that, I guess Jeff probably spoke on it as sponsor in the law committee. But this is something that when I was running for chair, I spoke to many different people. And the position of deputy chair was not new. A lot of folks brought it up, okay? Not because I had it, but they had always had thoughts of it, and they wanted it to be part of the body. And, as far as, whether it was for succession or so forth and so on. But it was something that they felt that really should be a part of how we do business. And I just hope that, if anybody has any questions or thoughts on it or whatever, you speak to it. But it is something that really is needed. And this is a start, as far as I'm concerned. And it didn't start with me. That's the one point that I want to make. It did not start with me. Okay.
Recognizing that we're approaching 7 o'clock, are there any questions?
Yeah, I do have a question. It's a little strange that we have the position in place, but we're going to change the charter to establish it again. And I'm still not clear about what the specific reason is for that.
Yeah, we talked about this.
Yeah, we discussed this last time.
Yeah, there was one thing
The
that,
position does not currently legally exist. This would create legally the position and create responsibilities and requirements for it.
would it allow the deputy chair to absorb more of the chair's responsibilities?
It would allow her to absorb, or him or her to absorb any of the chair's responsibilities. Currently, deputy chairperson is an illusory position that has no responsibilities or requirements.
So this
Or
would
authority,
enable
yes.
the person to step in when the chair, gives permission, so if they couldn't make a meeting or they couldn't do one little thing that they have to do, they could defer to their, and it would be a legitimate role where it isn't right now at all.
To me, the big usefulness of this is that there are certain things that the chair of the Albany County Legislature has to do, certain responsibilities they have under the charter. If the chair of the Albany County Legislature is out of town and they're allowed to go out of town and something came up, we could be in an awkward position where no one could take that action as a matter of law because the deputy doesn't currently actually have that legal authority. This would be allowing in that instance for that situation to not come up. The deputy could act on behalf instead of the chair in those instances. That is something that I think has real value to the functioning of the county government. That's the most important thing that we're doing here.
Ms. Wheeler?
So how is it different than when you were serving under Andrew? And this is my second term, so my first term, you were the deputy chair under Andrew. It was like in the Army Reserve or something, like he was away a lot. So how did you handle this void, as you just pointed out, in that instance? Because Andrew was, what is he, Army
She
Reserve?
did not legally
Right.
have it.
Was it a problem for the 4 years?
We voted on it each and every time.
Wait, I'm asking.
Okay, but I'm responding to you now. So because I've been deferred to by the chairwoman, she did not have any legal authority or responsibility to take on any of the roles. So she could not take on any of the roles, including things like CAB, which no one else has the
So was
authority
that-
to sit
That
at.
was a problem then, that we just weren't aware of. Like, I would
Right.
see you up on the podium, you know, when he wasn't around running the meeting, but obviously there were other issues that arose that you couldn't step in and handle when he was away, is what you're
That's
saying.
correct.
And to be clear, you separately voted on
Yeah,
every
each
single
time.
meeting where she sat
Yes.
at the dais.
Yeah.
Because absent a legal authorization, she had no legal authority to do it. That's why it was voted on every single
So
time.
we couldn't do that in those other instances of,
No,
No.
because there is no opportunity for you to
Right.
authorize someone to vote at CAB. You just lose your vote.
Ms. Lecoq?
I was just gonna point out that, that's what I was gonna point out.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Bergville?
Well, I knew about the CAD thing. I assume there are other things, like you have to sign payrolls, maybe?
Well, the comptroller signs payrolls, but
No, I mean, like for the
Timesheet.
chair's office, timesheets, who supervises all the employees?
not the chairwoman.
Not the chair. Well, what else besides CAB? Obviously, you wouldn't have to, and I'm supportive of this, but I think it'd be good for everybody to understand and have a little bit broader understanding, as besides CAB, what other sorts of things would mechanically pass to the deputy in the
Well,
absence?
that would be, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the situation, obviously, because the chairwoman's responsibility or chairperson's responsibilities change depending on where they are and what the circumstances are. And I'll defer to Pat.
Yeah, it's mainly CAB and
Yeah.
the ability to call meetings. That's the authority of the
Oh,
chairperson.
seeker as well,
Sorry?
seeker as well.
In some situations, it's going to be secret as well.
Well, those are
Yeah.
good things to know.
And it also allows, as written, it's anything that the legislature should authorize the chairperson to do, the deputy chair would be able to do. So should something come up, we already, we're future-proofing it.
Yeah, it can be more often than once a month. It can be whenever it's called.
3 men in a room.
My
Is there a
favorite.
motion?
Yeah, I'll move this.
Thank you, Mr. Kuhn. Is there a second?
I'll second that
Thank you,
motion.
Ms. Lecoq. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Great, passes unanimously. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Miss Lakakis,
Second.
we're welcome to adjourn.
All in favor? Thank you, everybody.